Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Buckle up because today we're diving into one of the boldest moves OpenAI has ever made. Forget just ChatGPT on your laptop or your phone. OpenAI is going full Apple mode, designing its own consumer hardware, signing billion-dollar deals, poaching Apple talent left and right, and setting a launch timeline that could put it in direct competition with the biggest consumer tech players on the planet. According to multiple reports, OpenAI is working on a family of devices that would redefine how we interact with AI. Smart speakers, futuristic glasses, even a wearable pin. And all of it under the creative influence of Jony Ive, the legendary Apple designer who helped bring the iPhone into existence. That's right, Sam Altman wants to put OpenAI hardware in your pocket, in your ear, and maybe even clip to your shirt. The first product coming out of this new hardware push is described as a pocket-sized, screen-free device that understands context. Think about that for a second. No screen, no apps, just pure AI interaction. Instead of reaching for your smartphone, you'd interact directly with OpenAI's models through a dedicated device designed from the ground up for artificial intelligence. And this isn't just talk. OpenAI has already signed a manufacturing deal with Luxshare, one of Apple's biggest suppliers in China. Luxshare is a major assembler of iPhones and AirPods, and now it's about to start building AI-native devices for Apple's most unlikely rival, OpenAI. On top of that, OpenAI has reportedly approached Goertek, another Apple supplier, which handles components for AirPods, HomePods, and Apple Watches, to source key speaker modules. Quick reminder here, before we go deeper, if you're into these deep dives on the AI wars and future of consumer tech, make sure to hit that like button. It helps push this video to more people. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next big update. Now back to the story. OpenAI isn't just outsourcing the build, it's also poaching Apple employees at a stunning pace. Since its partnership with Ive was announced, at least 25 former Apple employees have jumped ship to join OpenAI in 2025 alone. We're talking senior-level figures across design, manufacturing, and engineering. And leading the charge is Tang Tan, OpenAI's chief hardware officer, who spent 25 years at Apple, turning Jony Ive's sketches into shipping products like the iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch. Tang Tan has been personally reaching out to Apple colleagues, assuring them that at OpenAI, they'll encounter less bureaucracy and more collaboration. In other words, forget Apple's famously rigid hierarchy. At OpenAI, you'll have the freedom to build, and that's not just talk either. After OpenAI acquired IO Products earlier this year in a $6.5 billion deal, it gained instant credibility in the hardware space. IO Products was a startup, co-founded by Ive and Tan, and bringing it under OpenAI's roof signaled to the industry that Sam Altman wasn't just experimenting, he was going all in. Some of the new recruits are heavy hitters. Cyrus Daniel Irani, who worked on Apple's human interface design team, and Matt Theobald, a 17-year veteran in manufacturing design, have both joined OpenAI. Reports suggest that more and more Apple veterans are quietly crossing over, drawn by Altman's vision of building AI-native hardware and Tan's promise of a more open, fast-moving work culture. And here's where things get really interesting. Apple itself is nervous. In fact, it reportedly canceled a major meeting in China last month with its own manufacturing and supply chain partners, the same ones OpenAI is now working with, because of concerns that too many staff might defect. That's how serious this recruitment drive has become. Let's talk about what OpenAI is actually building. The flagship prototype is described as a pocket-sized, contextually aware device. It's designed to understand your surroundings and needs. Analysts say this kind of gadget could actually eat into the smartphone market by offering an entirely new way of interacting with AI. No screen, no reliance on iOS or Android, just a pure, focused AI experience designed from the ground up. And it doesn't stop there. OpenAI is also developing a smart speaker-like device, a pair of AI-powered glasses, a digital voice recorder, and a wearable pin, creating a full ecosystem of hardware. The company is targeting a launch window of late 2026 or early 2027 for the first wave of products. And get this, Sam Altman has set an ambitious target, 100 million units. That is not a small number. Even the most successful new consumer devices in history, like the iPhone or AirPods, took years to hit numbers like that. OpenAI wants to do it right out of the gate. By leveraging Apple's own supply chain through Luxshare and Goertek, OpenAI can hit scale fast. Luxshare alone has the capacity to produce iPhones and AirPods by the hundreds of millions. If OpenAI can lock in contracts with these partners, it could flood the market with AI-native devices before Apple, Google, or Samsung even know what hit them. And hey, if you're still with me, drop a comment down below. Do you think OpenAI can really compete with Apple in hardware, or is this a pipe dream? I'm genuinely curious to hear your take. Now, it's worth stepping back and seeing the bigger picture here. OpenAI's move into hardware mirrors Apple's own legendary playbook: recruit the best design talent, leverage premium suppliers, and tightly integrate hardware and software into one cohesive, elegant product. But instead of optimizing for iOS, the entire optimization here is for AI models like GPT and DALL-E, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If OpenAI succeeds, it could completely reshape consumer electronics. Think about it: instead of a smartphone that runs apps built on top of AI, you'd carry a device built from the ground up around AI. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a fundamental shift in how we think about and interact with personal technology. Of course, the risks are massive. Hardware is notoriously difficult, even with Apple veterans on board. Breaking into consumer electronics means competing against companies with decades of experience in supply chain management, distribution, and marketing. OpenAI is entering a battlefield where Apple, Samsung, and Google have ruled for years. But Sam Altman seems undeterred. He has described this strategy as building a family of devices designed to bring AI into people's daily lives in the most seamless way possible. And judging by the billions being spent, he's willing to bet OpenAI's future on it. Analysts say OpenAI's $6.5 billion acquisition of I/O Products is one of the boldest moves in AI history. This wasn't just about buying a startup, it was about securing Jony Ive's iconic design vision and Tang Tan's unmatched manufacturing expertise. With Ive Tan and dozens of ex-Apple engineers now at OpenAI, the company has built a dream team with a design DNA that feels very familiar to anyone who knows Cupertino. But this isn't Apple 2.0. OpenAI isn't trying to make the next iPhone. They're building the first generation of devices designed from the ground up for artificial intelligence. Here, AI isn't just a feature, it's the foundation. Apple, Samsung, and Google might laugh at the idea of a pin or a screenless device today. But remember, people laughed at touchscreen-only phones in 2007 too. We all know how that turned out. Meanwhile, reports from inside Cupertino say Apple isn't taking this lightly. Beyond canceling meetings in China, the company is closely watching the talent exodus. Over 25 Apple employees have left in less than a year, some of them key product designers. For a company as secretive and protective of its culture as Apple, that's a major warning sign. So, where does this leave us? On one side, you've got OpenAI, once just a software lab making chatbots, now trying to reinvent itself as a consumer hardware giant. On the other, you've got Apple, Samsung, and Google, incumbents with decades of experience, but maybe slower to adapt to the AI native era. The next 2 years will be critical. If OpenAI can hit its launch window in 2026 or 2027, and if Luxshare and Goertek can deliver devices at Apple-level scale, we could be looking at the dawn of an entirely new product category. So the question is, will OpenAI's gamble pay off? Can Sam Altman and Jony Ive really build the next iPhone moment, but for AI? Or will this be one of the most expensive experiments in tech history? Either way, one thing's certain, the AI hardware race is on, and OpenAI just lit the fuse. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive. If you haven't already, hit like if you learned something new today, subscribe if you want to follow the twists and turns of this AI hardware war, and drop your thoughts below. Who do you think wins this? OpenAI with its bold new family of devices, or Apple holding its ground as the king of consumer tech? That's it for this one. I'll catch you in the next video.